It has been, checks notes, 139 days since Liam Manning was appointed Bristol City manager, and we are here to discuss how his tenure has gone so far at Ashton Gate and how we think it might be going for the future as well. I am joined, as always, by Matiss on these podcasts. Welcome, everyone, to the 1894 podcast. If you're here in the live section, live chat, please do let yourselves be known in the live comments. Onto the side. Matiss, how are you doing on this fine day?
I'm not too bad. It's an international break now. A break where we don't have to watch a Bristol City loss, so not too bad. I've been playing football on my own, reffing some matches as well. But big talking point today on Liam Manning, and there's been a lot of talk around him. I've seen a lot of articles and fans talking, obviously, from the recent weeks, our form, etc., which we'll delve into. But yeah, it's an interesting kind of future now for Manning, and to see what happens with him and how we do. But yeah, not too bad.
Good. Well, we'll get straight into it. The topic of conversation will basically be, about Manning's tenure so far, and just generally about how we think this has gone to date. Obviously, caveat this, a lot of caveats, expectations, previous manager, obviously the majority of the summer recruitment was not with Liam Manning, and obviously, we'll talk about the situations. But the basic facts, if we're going off data so far, is very basic data. 23 league games for Liam Manning, so half a season he's done. He's accumulated 26 points, which if we do the calculations, do the basic maths, it is 1.1 points per game, which in a not roughly normal season is about, I'd say, 19th to 20th form. It's definitely down there. We're definitely down there under Liam Manning. So the first question, I suppose straight away I'll throw at you is this current league form acceptable?
The basic answer and the clear answer is no. I mean, we've talked about some of our thoughts, and we're kind of some of the minority who still think at this moment we should keep him. But yeah, at this moment in time, in terms of form, it's not acceptable, and it's not been good enough, especially in recent times, and performances as well. I mean, we've had the glimpses, but overall, it's not been good enough, and really needs to start to turn around, because 1.1 points per game is not up to standard, not where we should be. And I don't know exactly the win percentages, but I don't think it's too dissimilar from Pearson's. And
we don't talk about him.
The inconsistency.
We don't talk about Nigel Pearson. You'll anger a lot of people.
The inconsistency is still there. We look at the games, and we got 3 in a row, but other than that, it's been really patchy, in and out of form, and quite a few losses and winless kind of runs.
It's just, I think it's 11 losses in 23 league games. I might be wrong. I think maybe that might include the Nottingham Forest away game as well. But it's just generally not been. And I'm not denying that. And I think any Liam Manning kind of supporter at this point wouldn't deny the fact that the league form just hasn't been acceptable. And that's just a basic fact. I think under Liam Manning since New Year's, possibly, or maybe just completely in Liam Manning's tenure, we're in the bottom 3. If Liam Manning if the league table went off Liam Manning's form, it doesn't. We're in the bottom 3, and that is not acceptable. Of course, it isn't. We have a squad, in my opinion, that's way too good for the bottom 3, at least. So I suppose the next question is this: what about this squad? What about this squad? Because this is a squad, in my opinion, that has got a lot of gaps in it, in key areas I'm talking about as well.
And I fully agree, and I think one of the main areas is just our attacking force. under, I don't obviously not mentioning his name again, under Pearson as well, and just with Manning going forward, we've just not been good enough. I think defensively, I have to say it's impressive considering the depth that we've had and the injuries. We've conceded quite few goals across the season so far, and we're in the top 4 or 5 best, well, according to goals conceded, best defenses in the league. But
I think at one point we were 6th not too long ago in terms of goals conceded in the league, which is very impressive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, considering our form and our losses, it's pretty good. And most of our losses have been quite narrow. But yeah, overall, I think our squad is yeah, it's missing
Top 6
key
squad.
gaps, but overall, yeah, not necessarily top 6 squad, but I think we have a squad that should be around the upper mid-table side, around maybe like just above mid-table, around the 10th position, maybe a little
So
bit.
around where we are.
Yeah, I'd say a bit higher. I'd say we should be higher. Where are we? Are we sitting in our favorite position? Yeah, we are. I'd say we should be around the 10th area mark in terms of the quality that we have. I mean, we have been unlucky with injuries, especially near the start of the season, but I still think we should be higher. There is a lot of room for improvement. I feel like we've had quite a couple of seasons where we've relied on certain key players to really like bring us higher than we should be. Obviously, the Vyman season, Alex Scott was incredible last year, but yeah, I think it definitely in terms of forwards, what needs to be done. And in the summer, we know probably James or Williams is going to leave, so we need some replacement. Andy King's not going to
Max Bird's
anymore. Max Bird is coming in, but that leaves us with Taylor Gardner-Hickman, Max Bird, and Knight. And then what substitution wise? I mean,
maybe one of Joe Williams, Matty James, and King. Possibly Joe Williams. Most likely Joe Williams, probably.
But still, then we get one injury, and then the rest of the 3 have to play 90 minutes week in, week out. So we definitely need some additions there. I mean, we have Benarouz still, but it's 2 ACLs. I mean, that's risky. Atkinson as well keeps getting delayed. Naismith, I mean, I think is getting closer and closer. But
it's closer and closer.
Exactly. Exactly the point there. But other than that, I think we don't have a terrible squad, and obviously we should be aiming higher, but there's always work to be done. And Liam Manning, I mean, he's brought in Twine, Mabude.
Can we talk about that in a little bit? I just want to quickly say this current squad, I think, apart from if we rule out academy graduates, so Lee Johnson era, I think there's one player possibly from the Dean Holden era, Joe Williams. I think that's not one player. I think the rest of them is either all academy graduates or Nigel Pearson. Sorry, I said it. Nigel Pearson players. I think that is massive, kind of an indication of these are not Dean Holden. Okay, he's got one player. That's it. One player. We can basically eradicate here. This is a Nigel Pearson squad. Nigel Pearson could have got rid of Joe Williams if he wanted to. He didn't want to. He wanted to keep him around. I think he would have had many opportunities to do so. But the point is, this is a Nigel Pearson squad. The transition from a Nigel Pearson style of play to a Liam Manning style of play is not as drastic as some may suggest. I think it's still a fairly drastic thing to do. And November, December, January, February, March, 5 months, coming up at the end of March, 5 months. It's nowhere near enough time. He's not even had a preseason. It's all very generic. It's all very basic. And the arguments for Liam Manning at the moment are all, he's got to be given time. He's not had a preseason. It's not his group of players. I know that. And I know people are kind of angry at the fact that we constantly keep telling, or we are being told to keep patience with Manning and other managers as well. But it's just the fact of the scenario at the moment. It's just the fact at the moment. But we have to give Manning time, and that ultimately, I think, is the main. It's the underlying solution to a lot of the problems at the moment. Now, some fans are obviously saying, Manning has got to go for a multitude of reasons. The football at the moment was the home game I went to against Swansea. The football was dire. Okay, I'm not denying that it was awful to watch, and I don't want to watch that every week. And that's not what Liam Manning was brought in to do either. We were brought in to be a fluid side, good on the ball, good in possession, in attacking, all the cliche buzzwords, etc., etc. But I also get the fact that Liam Manning said, "Oh, but we just needed to stop the run." I get that as well. I get his point as well. But where do you stand? Because you've got to have some sort of criticism of Manning. Because I've got criticism of Manning, whether that be in-game tactics, how he conducts himself in the press, just him in general. Where are your at the moment key kind of, you'd say, points, some metrics and scoring system where you think Manning's at the moment getting marked down significantly?
No, I do agree with you. The criticism is somewhat deserved, but I still sit in this position where, well, we're thinking if we get rid of him, it really won't be there won't be any benefits to us, and it will just really make things worse. And you said it'd be suicidal if we did it, and I do agree. In terms of the problems since he's come in, I think it's a hard challenge to kind of change this kind of style of play around. I do think certain players we have, but for the majority of the squad, we're gonna have to kind of revamp the squad and change things up. But yeah, we just haven't seen enough. We go to the games where we've played amazingly at Southampton. We've beaten West Ham, but it's not good enough to select a select few and then like justify that's good enough.
27 games, would it be? 27 games? Yeah. 27 games in total with 4 cup games.
With 4 cup games, and then that brings us 8 wins in 27 then, if we include the West Ham. Should be something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And yeah, on paper, that is really, really poor. And it's a results business at the end of the day, and we're not playing well and we're not getting the results. So it's a really, really poor time for Bristol City. But do I think Liam Manning's not the right man? No, because let's be honest, if moving away from Manning and bringing on someone else, we need to move to a better style of football under Pearson. If we want to progress and move up and start challenging for playoffs, we really have to have a kind of a bright kind of just seeing what we're trying to do. Like Pearson, I think he did a great job when he was here, and we've kind of have this foundation. We have really, really good academy youngsters coming through the ranks, and we've kind of got a good cycle going on now. But if we can just put everything together, just get the right players in, I think if we give him some more time, then we can move in the right direction. And I think, yeah, like we mentioned, sacking him, who do we bring in? And then it really becomes a sticky situation where we won't be happy with anyone. And then
I just don't think it's even worth wasting our energy about.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't even think it's not even a thing we're going to even contemplate. I don't think about who do we bring in if we sack him. We're not going to sack him. We're not going to sack him.
He won't be sacked as well. So
no,
exactly.
Exactly. We're not going to sack him. The board are just not going to sack him. Talking on the board, let's talk about the City board, shall we? Or what we can talk about them, because they have been, again, very anonymous. Surprise, surprise. Well, the board, I'm mainly talking about John Lansdowne. I'll not really talk about Steve Lansdowne. It's already a bit pointless. Brian Tinian. Brian Tinian is head of recruitment. And that is the main thing I want to focus on. The recruitment in the summer. So if we list off the players who came in through the door, Jason Knight, Ross McCrory. So big fees on Jason Knight and McCrory. Dickey comes in for a nominal-ish fee. Hayden Roberts comes in on a free, and Taylor Gunn Hickman, I think, was at the 5, and maybe one more. 6, was it? Was that 6 or maybe 5? I think it was 5.
Murphy. Well, no, not.
No, Murphy was
Yeah,
Manning. It's a 5.
of the summer.
Oh,
The
I'm missing
summer.
four.
Yeah, no, Dickie, McCrory, Hayden, Roberts, Knight, TGH. So yeah, 5.
Yeah, so 5. So 5 players came in through the door, and honestly, I am not getting apart from Knight at the moment. None of them are really giving me adaptability in terms of they are going to be able to adapt to a Liam Manning system. Well, oh no, pardon me, Rob Dickey. Rob Dickey.
Yeah, I was about to mention before you
I
forget.
forgot about Rob Dickey. Blimey. Yeah, Dickey, Knight. Yeah, Roberts at the moment flattering to deceive. Same with McCrory. McCrory's a little bit iffy. Yeah, well, I think we'll see the best of McCrory next season, obviously, with the injury he's had, long overhaul with that. Yeah, Hayden Roberts is flat to deceive. McCrory, as I said. TGH, he started off really well under Pearson, and then it's kind of slowly deteriorated a little bit in his game, and his playing game time has decreased as well as a result. On the summer recruitment, obviously we had a different manager back then, and that's a main. We wouldn't have. No one would have been planning for a Liam Manning system when we were recruiting those players. But how much do you think that has also been a massive reason we haven't developed as quickly as we would have wanted to under Liam Manning and that recruitment in the summer? Because those players, to me at the moment, just not giving too much adaptability. I don't know if you agree with that.
I'd actually make a point to argue against that. I think it's a factor. I don't think all those players are particularly there, but Jason Knight and Rob Dickey, I think, have been some of our best players, and Dickey has recently thrived as well. Knight is obviously an energetic player. I think just in general, those summer transfers, when we looked at those players on paper and what we've seen for them at their past clubs, I thought it looked relatively exciting getting a Premier League Academy product from Hayden Roberts. He hasn't really lived up to what he could be. McCrory, like you said, I think he could be quite a useful player. And Taylor Hickman, I agree. He's not really been there recently. He hasn't played a lot, but it depends what Manning wants to do. If he thinks he's good enough, he might put him into his plans to, like we mentioned, have Bird and then TGH there with Knight as well, the integral middle three. So we could see him being used. But
well, Knight's been playing as a 10, hasn't he? I don't think Manning really wants to play him there, to be honest, because if you see some of the number 10s Manning has been playing in his past jobs at Oxford, at MK, it was obviously Scott Twine. At Oxford, I think because Marcus McGuane, I think it might have been Marcus McGuane. If it was Marcus McGuane, it's a completely different player to Jason Knight, as you know. Both of them, Twine and McGuane, have really high technical capabilities. Knight, incredible, really good player, but not quite got that technical edge quite yet. So, yeah, I don't think Manning wants to play Knight there. I don't think he sees him suited for that role. I think he wants to play him as an 8 or even a 6, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, and we could definitely move things up. I mean, now Manning he had a short transfer window, and but he did bring in 4 players. Obviously one more for the future with Stokes. Mabude as well hasn't really played, but I think again that one he'll grow into it, and we have the option to buy as well. And then Scott Twine, I mean, we can get onto that, but that was a really unfortunate failure. But I'm very excited to see Max Bird come into the squad, and I think he could be great. But yeah, it's a defining summer. See who he brings in, and then he'll really have a go, because we don't really want to. We had Pearson had his 3 years. Impatience is starting to kind of build around the club. Obviously, we've now got another mid-table finish this year, but next year we really want to see something push on, especially after the summer transfer window as well. But yeah,
let's talk about Brian Tinian, because I think I really want to focus on him. I think he's head of recruitment. I'm not completely sure. I think he is head of recruitment. Do you think his role at the club is, I don't know, how much is he going to be just generally questioned? I'm not blaming him. I'm not saying he's at fault for anything. I don't really know what I'm blaming him for, to be honest. Another mid-table finish is what we've been having for years. But if there was something, kind of question, is Tinian in that kind of category? Because the recruitment, as we've said, probably not good enough, to be honest, in terms of players who, and let's presume the board knew that Nigel Pearson was probably going to depart at the end of the season, but they just pushed the decision forward. If they were going to sign young players, at least they should have signed young players who were going to be adaptable and possibly plan for a post-Nigel Pearson era. But it looks like they haven't. It looks like if they have done that, they've done it terribly, because these players at the moment don't look like they can adapt, apart from a select few. Or do you think it was very much short-sighted and we've spent a lot of money on likes of McCrory, Knight, and it's just not going to work for them because of the fact that they can't adapt, or they look like they can't adapt at the moment to a Liam Manning system? This might be a completely different conversation in a year's time or 6 months' time when they're all playing really well and we're all very happy. But you see, you know what I mean? At the moment, and we can only go off what we know at the moment. At the moment, they just don't look like they can adapt to this Liam Manning system.
If we take what we've seen, we can put nearly every player into that list of not being able to adapt, really, because then a select few we've really looked poor in recent weeks and since Manning's come in. I'd say in terms of money spent, we needed to see a bit of more investment, especially considering the sales we made. But yeah, we put in a lot of money, and like you said, it was inevitable that it was probably Pearson's last year, and in the end he didn't even make it to the end of the year. But I'd still say over the time come, recent transfer windows, I think it's been a kind of a mediocre transfer window. I wouldn't say we've had one of the worst. I'd say we've had some successful players that we've signed, but then there's been quite a few failures as well. I mean, we look back this time last year. I mean, in the January transfer window, we brought in Cornick and Mehmeti, and I mean, there's mixed opinions on both of them, but realistically, they haven't really performed to our expectations, and especially all those clips that we saw of Anis at Wickham. But I think we definitely needs to be improved, but with the new kind of foresight that we have, because I think when we appointed Pearson, I don't think we saw him as the one to. I mean, we did it obviously with Leicester, but I didn't think at that time in his career and kind of the role that he had wasn't to bring us to that next level. So hopefully they can kind of sit down and see what Manning wants to do and his foresight onto the next year or two, depending on how much they see in him. And then I think that changes a lot of what's to come in the transfer window and how much they believe in him and trust in him to invest and kind of see the possibilities of players. And even if Manning isn't the one, the next one, we kind of want to move towards players who can adapt to obviously a nicer brand, nicer style of football. Yeah. In quotes, yeah.
Yeah, quote unquote, Liam Manning ball. At the moment, though, Liam Manning ball is producing some proper Tony Pulis. No disrespect to Tony Pulis, but that is the best way I can describe it. It is properly turgid at the moment. And I don't think Manning wants to play that way. I don't think he does. I just think it's a product of the fact that these group of players, and I think I heard James Piercy say this on BBC Bristol Sport, where he said Manning has shifted to this style of play because of the fact that these group of players have actually zero confidence, not in Manning, but just in themselves. They look like they can pass a ball for toffee, and this doesn't look like they are. It looks like they're amateurs when they try to instill some sort of power in the play. That might be on them as a group of players. That might be on Manning kind of maybe processing too much or transferring too much information too quickly. Maybe you should just gradually tone that down. Might be other reasons. Psychologically, they could be gone. They could, for all we know, they're still hurt over Nigel Pearson sacking, but we don't know. But on the recent run of games where we have transferred to this now completely different shift of football, it was particularly evident against Swansea. I thought where we're at home, we've just lost 4 on the bounce, I think. We're at home to a side who are in the mid-table region with us. Granted, I think they were a little bit of a high, Swansea, maybe just a little bit, just a couple of wins. But realistically, you're expected to win that game, or at the very least, you're at home. You've got to take the game to Swansea. And I thought, well, we've got decent. I don't know. We could counterattack them, but that was not even counterattack. That was literally just hoofball. That was defend deep and hope something gets off a set piece, and that's how we scored. What are your thoughts on this? I wouldn't even call it. No one call it Liam Manning or this complete shift. Why do you think that's happened?
I think on the Swansea game first, I think that was a game where it was a must win for Manning, and he knew he had to produce a result. But we can still do that by not playing in that sort of way. But in terms of results and performances, we've mentioned the good performances, the good wins. We look back at when we had 3 on the bounce, that Watford performance against Hull, against Southampton, but we just struggled to break down the teams with a high line, with a low block, and just the lower table teams that they make it really hard to break it down, but we just don't know how to move forward, how to break them down and create an attack. And that's why we've gotten barely any shots on target this season. If I don't have the stats, but most games we barely get. I remember the start of the season, even under Pearson, I remember we went 4 games with 1 shot on target or 2 shots on target. But we just struggle against worse sides. I mean, that's what happened. We won 3 on the bounce and then lost against Millwall, drew against Birmingham. We lost against 2 sides in the relegation. In the bottom 3, we just kind of need to piece it together and sort out, because teams who play open football and where we can kind of express our style of play, then we can see the positives. And in those games, especially even when we lose, in those certain games, you could see the positives, that it was a close game and we could have got something out of it. But I think it's just in time it'll come. But I feel like it's just those. Yeah, like Ipswich as an example. I thought after that game we were we could have easily got a result in that game, and we looked pretty decent. Away at Southampton.
2 massive chances.
And we just couldn't get it done. Then we have games where we just really are poor and we can't break them down, and they just come on.
That's a brilliant point, actually. I completely forgot that. The inability to break teams down when we have a low block, that's not just happened under Manning. That's happened under previous managers as well, hasn't it? And what's the common factor in this? The players. And what did we try to do in January? We tried to bring in Scott Twine, didn't we, to help break down low blocks when teams do come with a low block against us. And that's not just because they don't just play with a low block because they're petrified of us. No, I don't think anyone should be. But it's because we tried to dominate the ball, and don't do it anymore. But we tried to dominate the ball and really be just controlling over possession. And we just didn't have anyone. As I think I mentioned it earlier, where we tried Jason 9 to 10. He's a good player, but he can't break down low blocks. And that is again an issue. Scott Twine was brought in. Yeah, that's about it. Scott Twine was brought in, and What have we seen of him? He scored against Watford. That's about it.
Yeah, I was at that game. That was after that header went in, we all thought, oh, crikey, what a signing, and he's gonna help us get that playoff push. That was half a belief at that time. But yeah, I mean, it is a shame. And now, yeah, there was always potential that perhaps he could be brought in permanently, but with Burnley coming down, I really find it hard to see him staying. If Liam Manning somehow convinces him, and shows belief in the project for next year, then if we keep him, that's brilliant, because I think he's a great player. I mean, he only played, well, he came on against West Brom for like what 20-25 minutes, but we were already 2-0 down or then. So yeah, but yeah, we'll have to see. It's a shame with Twine.
Yeah, that's that. I'm not saying we have been on this bad run because of Scott Twine, but large reason, not a large reason, a small large region, not small reason of it is because we just haven't been again able to break down a low block. QPR at home couldn't break them down. Cardiff at home couldn't break them down. Again, it's just those kind of similar patterns repeating themselves again and again. Even West Brom away to a certain extent. I'm not saying West Brom were defending, but when we had the ball, did we really look like in open play, looking like scoring? Not too many times.
Exactly.
Conway had one. Conway went in, but that was about it. Afternoon to JSW for Talks Football. Look, I think a large conclusion can be made from this, a broad conclusion, if you want, that can be made from all of what's happened under Liam Manning so far, which is a pretty big sample size, 27 games in charge of Bristol City in all competitions. I'd say a pretty disappointing one so far, but one, as I said at the start of the show, one with a lot of caveats in it, and certainly one I think that needs time to heal, kind of, and just let it take its natural course with the players who are going to come in next season, who are signed in January, i.e. Josh Stokes, Adam Murphy, he's still available, but he's not playing. Adam Murphy, Max Bird in particular, we're all excited about. Kind of uncertainties around players out of contracts, players who might be leaving. That's going to be massive as well. Just to quickly on Manning, finally, I think. What does he need? What does he need to succeed at Bristol City? Because at the moment, I think you and I will both agree, if things keep going at the moment, he's failing. He's failing at Bristol City at the moment. If we continue this trajectory, he's failing. But we are both of the belief that hopefully this will change. Hopefully this is kind of just a little blip or a massive speed bump in the road. You know, one of those really, square speed bumps that's really big. Just one of those. When we cross over, it's going to be smooth sailing. That's a terrible analogy. I'm really sorry.
It is the dream though to finally have some consistency, just consistency.
Yeah.
I'd love another just 10 games with only one loss or just something like that.
6 draws, 4 wins.
What did he need though? I think firstly just backing in general, and I think the board will give him backing and belief. They need to, and track record they have, and I think they will. I think from the fans as well. I know it's hard, it's impatient, but we look at the bigger picture. We just need to, whoever's in front of us, we just got to give our full backing, and we have to deal with what we have. Yeah, definitely backing, and this summer transfer window will be massive if there's investment put in. I think we've spent an okay amount of money in the transfers, a couple big transfers, but overall, considering the money that we had come in from players, yes, some of that had to go into not break any rules or regulations, but still, I mean, what did we get from recent times? Players going out probably like 38 million then plus add-ons, something like that.
How far are we going back?
Yeah, exactly. We Yeah,
And
yeah.
that, are we going back to like Adam Webster era?
No. Just off of Semenyo and Scott.
Oh yeah, then like 35, I'd say.
Yeah, because what Semenyo was 12 mil, so
No, he wasn't that much. Wasn't that much.
it wasn't
10.
12.
It's like 10, I think.
10.
I think.
But plus, yeah, and but Alex was 25 plus included Alan. So yeah, probably like 35 or something like that. Plus a few others. So yeah, just backing, which I think you'll get, but it'll be interesting to see because the next games coming up, just in general, no matter the opposition, obviously Leicester will be extremely tough test. But if we'll talk about them. But if we get into kind of a situation where it really doesn't turn around in the next few games, then it can really get toxic and we won't be in a good position. But yeah, I think this summer he'll need a pre-season, which most managers need, and then we can push on. But I think he has the opportunity here. So hopefully we can see him flourish.
Fingers crossed we're not in a position where we are kind of like close to that red line. It already went near it, hopefully. A couple of wins would be nice. Come like game week 42, next 4 games. 4 games? Yeah, next 4 games. I think that's going to be crucial because after that, I think we've got Huddersfield, Rotherham, Stoke, haven't we, in the last few games, and then Norwich away to throw into that bargain as well, which is going to be really fun, going to Carrow Road to face Josh Sargent, Ashley Barnes, etc. Oh, can't wait for that. And Gabriel Sara. And this is not a Norwich podcast. But yeah, it's I think it's just about getting results at the moment. Just keep yourselves at arm's length. Obviously, Leicester's going to be tough. But yeah, just on your point about Liam Manning being backed really quickly, he needs to be backed because otherwise this is all completely pointless. Might as well just kept Pearson.
Yeah.
If ever, unless the board were lying to us and they actually didn't sack Pearson because of results and actually just fell out with him, in which case I wouldn't be surprised. And also, they were pathetic from the board. But yeah, it needs to be backed. Needs to be backed is my fair opinion. And I've seen some opinions, you have your right to opinion, saying, well, what has he done to warrant being backed? Look, on the sample size we've got so far today, it's not been good enough. But again, I'd caveat that and respond to that by saying, well, it's not his squad. Again, it's not his squad. It's hasn't had a window, hasn't had a pre-season. And if the board do believe that Manning is the right person and is an severe upgrade on Nigel Pearson, then I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be backed. If you know what I mean. If we argue Nigel Pearson wasn't backed after the Alex Scott sale, and that's the reason why, that was kind of like a start of a chain reaction between him and the board and the friction between them, then this has to kind of like, work in Manning's favour, that surely. And if Manning isn't backed for whatever reason, the board are getting the blame. That is quite obvious for me. Just quickly, in terms of positions in general, maybe not positions, maybe what we need is to function properly as a system. What do you think this squad needs?
In terms of players?
I kind of want to disguise that, not in terms of positions like striker, goalkeeper, right, whatever. But as in, like, what does it need? What does it need in terms of as like, you know what I mean, like a type of player, maybe, as as in,
Without in basic terms, we need not to put a position on it, but we just need a goal scorer, I'd say.
Yeah, so goal scoring centre back.
Goal scoring centre back, goal scoring goalkeeper. We already have one with Dicky.
That was a terribly worded question. That was not what my intention was. My intention was more like, need a player, just to get us off our seats.
You need a player.
Just need a player. Need a player. A couple more.
That's what we wanted with Anis. But
and D-Ray.
he does have. Yeah, exactly.
Cornick. Not
Mabude
Cornick.
as well. I really want to see. Well, Cornick still gets us off our season, no matter how he's playing.
In the wrong way.
Always be excited. Yeah, but what do we need? It's such a
Stupid question.
big question. I don't know.
Okay, fine. Go on. Positions. And take into fact that some of
Positions,
the players might leave as well.
If we look at, I think there's been conversations around Max in goal, but personally, I think he's a perfectly all right championship goalkeeper of where we're at the moment.
Well, sorry, just on Max. Every time I hear someone talk about, we need to replace Max, unless you have about 6 million quid, you're not going to replace him.
Yeah.
Is all I'm going to say. Unless you get Victor Janssen for like 2 million quid, that's not the best chance to get Victor Janssen. Yeah, that might not happen for a multitude of reasons, but yeah, the point is, it's going to take a hell of a lot of money to replace Max, and we don't have that money. And if we did have that money, we'd want to spread it out evenly across other different positions.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't see him going, and I think he's a pretty decent keeper. I think we mentioned it before. We need more depth defensively, especially with these injury-prone players that we have now, Naismith, Atkinson.
What did you do with Cal Naismith?
What did I do with Cal Naismith?
Bearing in mind, the player on the back of this shirt is Cal Naismith, so I love that man.
You've got that show, and he's like that.
Oh my god! When he signed from Luton, I loved him. Oh god, that was the most terrible decision. I was so excited. I was like, "Oh, this is gonna take us to the Premier League." Like centre back, goal scoring centre back. Oh god, it doesn't play.
It depends what Manning wants to do and where he sees our more crucial positions are needed. And I reckon when does his contract end?
Next summer.
So next summer. So I'd say he stays for the year, because we've got Dickey and Viner and Atkinson when he comes back, and then we have two positions at left back and right back. Then with Naismith in as well, then we have one cover for each position in the back four for first team. On paper with no injuries, I'd say he wouldn't get rid of them, because even if we added one, it's better to have increased depth. But I think the main concern is further up the field towards the goal scoring region. If James does go, I really hope we do keep. I think we should keep Williams for at least another year. And if we do keep Twine, that'd be great as well. And I think we still need another signing there, because Adam Murphy, he's obviously one bit more for the future. And then up front, Naki, do you see him leaving this summer?
I think him, Cornick, up for debate in terms of keeping him or not. I suppose Naki Wells would be on high wages as well, I'd say. So who would want him? Who are we shifting him to is the question. Because so I kind of relate to the Casey Palmer situation. But the thing with Casey Palmer was he's younger, but also he still had, quality about him. Naki Wells at the moment is just showing utterly nothing. Like his level is probably League One, but no one in League One is even paying half of what we're paying him at the moment, and that is the main concern.
I wouldn't put him in League One. I mean, we had this conversation before. We've talked about, and I've I don't know, probably a contriversial opinion.
Actually, you know what? Fine, I'll take it back. Maybe lower end, like bottom three championship, like a striker. If a team in the bottom three need a striker, they were desperate, and they'd probably go for Naki Wells. But again, wages. And he's under contract until next summer, which is massively a pain in the backside.
Yeah, that's the thing. For in terms of forwards, I mean, Bell's going to come back in the summer. Cornick and Naki, realistically, for the future, they're not. I
still see something in Cornick. I'm not even joking. I still see something in Cornick. Call me mental, Call me mental, but I just see
I mean,
something.
comment below your thoughts on Naki and
Comment your
Cornick
thoughts
and
on Cornick. Where that
and
moustache is
Naki.
doing
Tell me that he's underrated, like I think.
show that moustache some stash. So that stash some love. Maybe it's changing its form.
Don't know. I'm just not convinced. I still
Talk
just
about
don't
Tommy
think
Conway
he has
then.
any.
Talk about Tommy Conway, because if he leaves,
That's also an interesting
we
conversation
need
because
we need 3 players in the forward regions if Tommy Conway leaves as well, because his contract is up next summer as well, which is again a pain in the backside, because I don't want to be up next summer, because I want it to just keep going. But to be fair, he's not showed it on the pitch, and we are in a situation where we have to make a decision on him, because if we want optimum value for him, if we do want to sell him and he's not going to stay, A, he has to tell us now he's not going to stay, and B, we have to sell him this summer, because we're not going to get much for him in January. We're going to get a quarter of his value, I'd say, a quarter of what we want, and he's going to have half a season where probably he's not asked, because he knows he's going to leave. So what would he do with? Let's presume he's not going to sign a contract extension. What are you going to do with him?
Yeah, if he doesn't sign a contract extension and we have guaranteed players coming in, then I probably would sell him for that optimum. How much? Because personally, I think he's a brilliant he's a brilliant player, but he just hasn't convinced me recently either. But neither has any of the attack really. I mean, we look at his stats. He's got 7 goals in 31 matches this season in the Championship, and how many of those have been penalties? Half of them, more,
5?
well, 3 or 4. 5 penalties.
5? Is it 5? 4?
No, 3. Only 3 in the 3 in the thing. So 4 open play goals in the Championship this year as our main striker.
That's not enough.
Yeah, it's poor, and I think sometimes he doesn't have the service that he should be. But then we look at the chances that we do have, and at certain points, I'm not convinced. But I think I still think his mentality's there. He's happy under Manning, it seems, and I think we will keep him. And I do think, I don't know, I have a feeling that I could sign at least a year extension contract, because the way he's played now, I don't think he goes even for that much. And I reckon he could go to a better side in the Championship, but I don't think he's Premier League ready.
No.
So I reckon we could get an extension on that, keep him, and play him up front. Then he becomes maybe a second striker, or we play him if we switch formations. Maybe probably not, but then have a main striker. I think we need to make a big signing for goal scorer, just like a big presence up front.
That's going to be a little bit of cash, isn't it?
Yeah, most likely from abroad. And then I reckon Tommy will kind of be. I think it could work, because Conway's, I don't know, I feel like he's got a good, like, I don't know, like football IQ, if that makes sense. But
yeah.
I think that could work well. But Naki and Cornick, we'll have to see. Mark Sykes, though, I think he's had a decent season. Anis, still more to see. And Bell is a bit of a endurance with injury, but he's improving.
I think that wraps it up for Manning talk in general. I think we all agree, or both of us agree, he needs to be backed in the summer, and I'm saying he needs more time. We're both saying he needs more time. That wraps it up on the Liam Manning talk. For quickly, about 10 minutes, we shall talk about Bristol City's home game against Leicester on Good Friday. I've been kind of talking about this game as a Good Friday crucifixion. Not from us, for them, for Leicester. Leicester, obviously, the big news coming from their camp is that they've had a charge implemented on them, forced on them, a charge put on them by the Premier League whilst they're playing in the Championship. So make that one out. So we don't know if they're gonna get a points deduction this season or next season. If they don't go up, I don't know how that's gonna work. I have no idea. Leicester, we were all utterly convinced they were gonna just fly away into the distance. I think it was 17 points at one point. It is now, well, -1 because they're second. They're
Well, it's
1 point off Leeds.
-1 goal difference. No, it's the same points.
Oh, are they? Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
it's neutral. But they do have a game in hand. They do have a game in hand. But they are second, and that is the major thing. It feels like a bit of a handing of the torch, I think, between them and Leeds a little bit. Leeds have all the momentum. Leicester faltering a lot. I think 3 defeats in 4 or something along those lines. QPR and just a couple of really poor defeats in there.
Well, they had 3 on the bounce against Borough, Leeds, QPR, and then they got an away win against Sunderland, but then a draw against Hull, and then they lost in the cup as well,
Yeah.
which now
Yeah,
makes
that's
them
away
again
at Leicester.
line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is this period for Leicester in particular. I think is going to be crucial for them in terms of how we are going to stop the Foxes. And also, I think we have to bear in mind that Leicester, with this kind of impending this charge, been put under, and a lot of pressure they have been put under, might take, I think, a bit of a siege mentality. So that is going to be fun on Good Friday. They might be more together than ever. What are your thoughts on the Foxes first? And how do you think we're going to cope?
I mean, the downfall, first of all, is just, I mean, incredible. I mean, we've been looking at them all season and sort of walk through the park, and just like that, the Championship, you lose 3 on the bounce, and you're straight back in and pulled into a well, now a title fight. And those top 3 separated by 1 point, and they're 1 goal difference off first. But yeah, it's incredible, really. They're on a transfer embargo as well. I mean, obviously we're not in a window, but yeah, they can't bring anyone in. And yeah, it's a really interesting situation. To see what will happen. Maybe they're purposefully getting bad results to stay in the Championship, and so they don't get these penalties. But yeah, obviously it's going to be an insanely tough game. But again, I mean, what the result away was that 1-0, 1-0 loss with a Vardy penalty. It ran the whole pitch over back to our fans, just to rub it in our faces. It's going to be a really tough game. We lose, that's 6 out of 7 losses for us, which really doesn't look good. And I don't think we'll be able to win. And I think Leicester will bounce back. They've had the international break now. They know they need to really grind out these results in order to stay at the top and finish out the season. We are at home, but we just haven't been promising at all recently.
Doesn't matter.
On the other side, though, I think against stronger sides, we can play better. We've seen that. And I feel like we could, I don't know, we could gather up something and potentially nick a point if we really play up to Sanders. Maybe Twine could start. He's had another week. So could be an interesting game. I feel like it could be just a real turn. We lose that, we really start to go one direction, but we show another positive performance and we kind of, I don't know, a bit more optimism. But yeah, it will be not the best fixture to have after an international break.
Definitely not the ideal fixture. Yeah, exactly. You want after international break and the run of results we have been on. I think Leicester are going to have Ricardo Pereira back, and they're going to have Abdul Fattah be back. Ricardo Pereira in particular is utterly crucial to that Leicester system. They play with inverted fullbacks, as we all know, and Hamza Chowdhury's been covering there right back. And no disrespect to Hamza Chowdhury, but the drop off in particularly right back is very drastic. There. So they're going to have them back, and Fatawu is a brilliant player as well. Did you see his goal at Bournemouth? Where he hit one? You should see it after this.
Oh no, I think I did. No, in the cup,
bent one brilliantly. I think it's going to be really tough, really, really tough for us. I think they're going to obviously they're going to control possession. Enzo Maresca's system is all about possession and control. Basically 10 times better at that than we are trying to do at the moment. But again, they have a lot of quality as well. We can't forget that Harry Winks, Yannick Vestergaard, Matt Hermansen, Jamie Vardy, Fatawu Mavadidi, Carlo Pereira's back.
That team is
The
absolutely insane.
The quality is ridiculous. And with the added incentive of the charge and the fact that Leicester are in a red-hot title race, promotion race with Ipswich, Southampton and Leeds, they need to win. And they'll be, again, looking at this kind of as a very, very winnable game. Side mid-table, meandering very much on the downhill. And on a downward slope and just in bad form. I'm going to go for as my score predictions. If you want to let me know your score predictions in the comment section after the event or in the live chat right now, go for it. I'm going to go for Bristol City 0, Leicester 2.
Or a 2-0 blow. Yeah, I really don't see us getting a result. I think there's a chance we could potentially nick a point. If we really bring it to them, I think Twine will be a big factor into that. But I reckon it'll be a little bit tighter. I'll go Leicester City 2 and then Bristol City 1. I reckon we'll get 1. I reckon it'll be a relatively tight game, but a bit more positives, I hope, will be seen. But yeah, if we do lose that game, it will be, atmosphere won't be great, especially if we don't play as well.
Oh
if it becomes a battering.
If we play badly and get battered, my God, it's going to be horrible.
2-3-0. I mean, we tend not to lose by a lot of goals, but if we do.
But if anyone is going to do it in this division, it's either Leeds or Leicester. So that's the thing. That's the thing, isn't it? Hopefully, let's hope for a Good Friday crucifixion inverse. Let's hope for the underdog to go and do Leicester over. But it's, as I said, it's going to be really, really, really difficult from a Bristol City perspective to go and see doing that, especially with the form we are on at the moment. And if we just disregard the fact that we are, again, better against better sides as well. That wraps up for this show, I think. Thank you very much to every one of you watching who has watched all the way through. Whether it's on Spotify, replay on YouTube, or live. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you're watching on Spotify, leave a 5-star review if you haven't already. And we do appreciate you listening without seeing our beautiful faces. Beautiful. But thank you very much for tuning in on Spotify. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much for as well. Subscribe, hit that right button, hit the notification bell to be notified every time we do go live, upload a video, etc., etc. We will be back probably after Leicester to talk about what will hopefully be a wonderful, wonderful result. We might do it on Good Friday. You don't know. We'll talk about it. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. Keep safe. Matiss, say goodbye, and I will end the stream.
Goodbye, guys.
See you, everyone.